Welcome to the long-awaited video where I'm going to share simple, easy recipes using chickpeas. So what I decided to do today is cook up some fresh ones in my pressure cooker. It's my favorite way to make chickpeas, and I saved the aquafaba for other recipes, but we're not using that today. You can Pinterest recipes for that. Otherwise, you can check over on my blog. I use it for cookies as an egg replacement. You can use it for whipped cream. You can use it for dressing sometimes, but there's so many different usages for it, and you definitely get a lot of it when you use your pressure cooker or Instant Pot. As you saw, I went ahead and rinsed my beans, made sure there was no rocks in them, all the dirt was off. I like doing that, especially with ones that I buy at the store that are dry. Went ahead and add about 4 cups of water, put them in my pressure cooker for 32 minutes, let that come to a complete pressure release, and then I had these beautiful plump garbanzo beans, chickpeas, whatever you want to call them, for my recipes today. So the first recipe we're looking at is these beautiful meatballs. You could do this with barbecue sauce or teriyaki sauce or anything you'd like. I will link all the recipes down below, but they're also on the screen for you. So enjoy, but let's get into this first recipe. Here are the chickpeas that I cooked up the other day. I love pressure cooked chickpeas. They just get so big and chewy and they're like so good. I did not keep the aquafaba with the garbanzo beans once they were cooked. I just freeze it and I use it later in other recipes. And you can Google a bunch of different things or Pinterest a bunch of different things to use for that. I use it for dressing, cookies, desserts, all sorts of stuff. But the first recipe is just 4 ingredients. I have an open jar of marinara sauce. You could definitely just do a can of crushed tomatoes and some additional seasonings, but I have this and I want to use it up. Some gluten-free Italian style breadcrumbs. You don't have to use this either. You could use oatmeal if you want to, but I have them. I'm gonna use them up. And then we're gonna use a little bit of mustard. Do you guys know what we're making? Ooh, it's gonna be a meatball. And it's gonna be so good. Since I am making quite a few chickpea recipes today, I'm not gonna make a full batch of each. I'm just gonna make smaller batches because I have to eat through all this week. Anyways, I am also gonna use some garlic and some salt. You can use any additional seasonings that you'd like. You're gonna do a cup of chickpeas, a half a cup of the Italian breadcrumbs, which is exactly what I have. Perfection. I have a little cold water right here that is like reserved because depending on how much water is in the chickpea right now, or if you use the aquafaba, you just want this to come to a nice meatball consistency where you can like scoop it and roll it and it's nice and sticky. If you need to add a little water, just add about a tablespoon at a time. Okay, so without any water added and no aquafaba, you can see that this is really mealy, almost like the breadcrumbs absorbed everything. So nut milk or water is perfect at this point. I'm also gonna add my seasonings, about a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of garlic powder. If you have fresh garlic, that would be really good too. You can also add more Italian season if you want to. Also, if you wanna make these different and make them with barbecue sauce, we've done that before and it's so good. So just, it's amazing. But I'm gonna put these with pasta later in the week, so I'm kind of like meal prepping them ahead of time. My food processor is so old, and I'm actually shocked that it's still going. It'll be 13 years old in July. And sometimes I'm like, oh no, it's broken. And then I realize I just didn't plug it in. I'm gonna need about 3 tablespoons of water in total for this to combine nicely. You can see here it's nice and a little bit sticky, so they're gonna form into balls really nicely, and it smells so good. I'm gonna go ahead and put everything in a bowl just so it's easier for you guys to see. Then you can get the texture. If you add a little bit too much water, it's not a big deal. It's really not. So I don't want you to be like, oh my gosh, I added too much. Really, the best thing about most of my recipes is you cook based on seeing and feeling. And if it's like a little too wet, you could add like a little oatmeal, a little more breadcrumbs. But here is our meatball. And you could fry these in the air fryer. You can bake them in the oven. You can do it in a skillet on the stovetop. I like to do them without cooking oil because I don't usually use cooking oil, but there's our meatball. Let's get these all rolled up. Okay, also just realized I did not add the mustard to these, which I normally do. So we're just gonna omit that from the recipe altogether. It definitely adds a nice vinegary tanginess to the meatballs, and I like that, but I forgot to add it because I was too busy talking. Anyways, we're just gonna go ahead and dump some marinara sauce on this. And if you do this in the air fryer, you can do the same way. It doesn't matter how much. I would say if you like it extra saucy, do it extra saucy. I'm gonna use all that's left, and that's about half a jar. I'm gonna bake these in my oven at 425 for about 10 to 15 minutes until the sauce is nice and hot. And then I'm just going to cool these, put them in my refrigerator, and put them with pasta later in the week. Here they are. They smell so good. So like I said, I'm just gonna pop these into the refrigerator once they're all cooled down, and then later this week, make a group of pasta, throw this on it, quick lunch, 7-minute lunch. Have it made ahead. You can also throw these in the freezer and then bake them when you want them. They are so good. Like I said, you could put barbecue sauce on them, sweet chili, because that's like our thing. You could do like a teriyaki thing. Yeah, super good. But they are just super easy, super simple. Add that vinegar for like that hit, or add that mustard for that hit of vinegar. Super good. But here they are. This next recipe is a sweet chili chickpea salad, but I'm realizing my autocorrect made it a sweet pea salad. I mean, it's definitely sweet and a little bit spicy. I hope you love it. Using my food processor again for all of these recipes today. Sorry if you don't have one, but I will link mine down below, plus a mini one that I love to use. And that way, if you don't have one in your kitchen, you have it. Sorry, I cut my head off. I literally just got done with my last run before my marathon this weekend, and it's like bittersweet. It feels like so weird that the training cycle's over, and here I am figuring out what I'm gonna do next as soon as Saturday rolls around. Okay, to this we are adding 1 cup of chickpeas. Let's do 1.5 cups for this one. Actually, let's do 2. I'm looking at how much is left and I'm like, I know exactly what I'm gonna make with that last one. Okay, to this I am adding about 3 tablespoons of mustard. I'm also gonna add a little bit of salt. If you don't use salt, you can omit it from the recipe and no big deal. A little bit of garlic. Chili sauce, about 2 tablespoons of this. Trust me, it is so good. If you like red pepper hummus, you need to try sweet chili hummus. And last but not least, a little bit of tahini. You do not have to add this if you want to do like a completely oil-free, fat-free. Just add a little bit more of the mustard and a little bit of the aquafaba. And I would add a lemon, but I don't have any. And recently I haven't been adding lemon to my hummus because I like never buy it. And I still really like it. I think the mustard gives it a little bit of acid. So about 2 tablespoons of tahini. I think I said tahini earlier, did not mean to. I am leaving this slightly more chunky because it's gonna be more of a chicken salad, and I say chicken than chicken, than a hummus. And it's gonna be so good because I made some homemade bread. So you have like the sweet, like creaminess of the chickpeas and then the flavor of the homemade bread, and it's so good. You can add additional things too, like lettuce, vegan cheese, I mean, pickles, anything you want. I'm gonna do banana peppers, that will be really good, and lettuce, so good. But let's throw it together and I'll show you the homemade bread that I made. I think this is such a good take on a regular chicken salad because it doesn't have a lot of acidity to it. It has a little bit of mustard in it, as you saw, but because of the spices, it really amplifies it and doesn't make it very dill forward. So here is the bread that I'm making. I actually made this a few days prior. I think it was 3 days before I made the chicken salad. And I love making homemade bread. If you're new to my channel, you probably haven't seen it before if this is the first video you've clicked on, but I make it all the time, and I'm not gonna bore you with all the details today, but I went ahead and was letting this rise a little bit. It's a very small loaf because I did cut the recipe in half trying to use a gluten-free flour, and I did find that the Red Mills 1-to-1 flour actually worked out really, really well for this recipe. Normally I use a all-purpose or a self-rising flour. It doesn't honestly really matter for this recipe, but I will link the recipe down from my blog below so you can check it out. There's a couple different details. Like I did put my Dutch oven into my oven and let it preheat so it was nice and hot, and then take it out and then put the bread in it. And like I said, there's a few extra steps, but if you've been around my channel for a while, you've probably already made this bread because it's super, super popular, and I love making it with different flavors because it just really makes homemade bread so much more cozy and inviting if you add different flavors instead of just a regular white or whole wheat bread. If I was to show you every single recipe I make with chickpeas, we would be here for a week. So if you want another video like this, let me know down below. Okay, so this bread has been stored for a few days and it's still perfect. It was stored in just a paper bag. It's a crunchy loaf. And if you're wondering, why is this loaf so small? Well, because I made a mini loaf to try out gluten-free flour and it worked really well. The smell of this is absolutely heavenly. It's a rosemary and nutritional yeast, so it's like my take on like an herb and cheese bread, and it's divine. And I was really happy it turned out with gluten-free flour. I just used a 1-for-1 all-purpose and it was perfect. Gonna throw her into the toaster. I'm obsessed with my toaster. Double toaster is always necessary. His and her sides. And I put on bagel and muffin, and she'll be done in about 3 minutes. I would love to hear it down in a comment below. What is your favorite thing to make with chickpeas? I feel like they are so popular because they're so versatile. I think they are my favorite legume. It's one that I feel like I can do the most with. I mean, you can make sweet items with it, you can bake with it, you can make brownies with it. You're gonna see a dessert here in a little bit. You can make curries with it, soups with it. It's really, really good if you wanna make chicken noodle soup. Oh my gosh, so good. Noodles, veggie broth, onion, carrots, celery. It's amazing. So I'd love to hear it down below. What's your favorite thing to make with chickpeas? So speaking of desserts, I could not end this video without adding my favorite dessert, which I don't think I've actually shared here on YouTube before, so enjoy. Speaking of the little mini food processor, we're gonna use it because I don't feel like washing out the other one right now. I just wanna get this show on the road. This meal, if you put this in a baked sweet potato, it will change your life. But if you don't wanna do that, you can just eat it like it is. Okay, so in a food processor, we're putting a 1/2 cup of chickpeas. Also, you can always do more or less, whatever your portion is, don't care. I always just say like, measure with your heart, measure with your heart. About 3 tablespoons of nut milk. This is the almond cashew macadamia nut beverage from Trader Joe's. You all changed my life. You said, so many of you in comments have been like, you need to try this, it's so good. With matcha, it's like my new thing in the afternoon. I'm obsessed. I don't know if I can get away from this milk now that I've used it. It is so rich and creamy. I know that's because of the blend. Cashews usually bother my stomach. I get a lot of questions on that. A lot of nuts typically bother my stomach, but this one's been okay. Maybe it's just because it's not like my stomach digesting the whole nut. It's just like this, but sometimes cashew milk with almond milk can bother me, so whatever they're doing, it's working for me. Okay, so about 3 tablespoons of that. 1, 2, 3. About a teaspoon of vanilla. Shout out to my girl KK who brought this to me from her vacation to Mexico over Christmas. My friend's always taking care of me. I'm adding a tablespoon of coconut. You do not have to. If you don't like coconut, don't add it. If you like coconut, add it. Also a tablespoon of nut butter of your choice. I'm going almond butter because that sounds really good. Is this dead? Please pause, I have to plug it in. I feel like I'm so spoiled by this food processor because you rarely have to plug it in. And when you do have to plug it in, you can plug it in for like 1 minute and then it's good for like days. It's amazing. I'll link this one down below too in case you want something just small. It comes with a food grinder and a smoothie cup, so it's like a 3-in-1. It's awesome. Okay, do me a favor. Make this little concoction of cookie dough. Take a baked sweet potato, a pre-baked sweet potato, put it inside a cut pre-baked sweet potato, put it back in your oven at like 300, 400 degrees for like 10 minutes until it's all heated up and the chocolate chips are melted. Tell me it's not the best thing you've ever had. Trust me, it is the best thing that I've ever had, and I couldn't wait to share it with you all. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe video with me sharing chickpeas as the main ingredient. Let me know down below, what do you want to see next in my main ingredient series? I will link a few videos down below within this video, so you can click the little arrow and then it'll drop them all there if you want to see ones with black beans, pinto beans, potatoes, oatmeal, etc. What do you want to see next? Or do you want to see another chickpea recipe video with different recipes? Because like I said, I got a lot of them. They're my favorite legume. I will see you Saturday in a brand new video. Bye-bye.